Surrey is one of the fastest growing cities in BC, but it's also a magnet for life-changing mistakes, the kind that people make every single day when moving here. And if you're not careful, those mistakes could cost you more than just money. They could cost you your entire quality of life. Surrey is absolutely booming with construction like this. New neighborhoods, more amenities, and people flocking in from all over. But here's the brutal truth. Make the wrong move here and you could end up trapped in a lifestyle that doesn't suit you. Surrounded by neighbors that you can't connect with, or spending hours every day stuck in traffic that you didn't even see coming. And these mistakes are not the type that you can just reverse. Once you're locked into a community that doesn't match your needs, you're living with it day after day, year after year. So today, we're breaking down the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when they're moved to Surrey, and how to avoid turning your dream move into a daily nightmare.
You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
You wouldn't believe how many calls I get from people desperate to get out of Surrey, and it's almost always the same story. They moved here thinking it was the perfect place. Big house, nice yard, quiet street. It seemed like a great deal, but now they're calling me to sell and sell fast. So why is that? Because they didn't see what was coming. The relentless traffic that turns a 15-minute drive into a 45-minute crawl, or the neighborhood that looked quiet and peaceful on the weekend turns into a congested nightmare during the work week. Or what about the new high-rise construction that's now blocking what used to be their view of the park? And here's the thing, I didn't sell these people these homes. I wouldn't have, because they should have seen this coming. Because these are the kind of problems that don't show up on the MLS listing, but once you're living here or living it, it's reality. It's every single day. If you're thinking about moving to Surrey, the biggest mistakes aren't the ones that will hit your wallet. They're the ones that are going to hit your quality of life. So let's get into the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when moving to Surrey and how to avoid them before you're stuck as well. My name is Darren. I've been selling homes to people just like you in Surrey since 2007. And every day we meet people just like you from this very YouTube channel. So if you're considering moving in the next 3 months or 3 years from now, connect with us through the link in the video description below, and we'll help make sure that you not only buy smart, but also that you find the absolute best home that's available and make the most of your hard-earned money when doing so. Imagine spending over 200 hours a year stuck in traffic. That's nearly 9 full days of your life. And in Surrey, that's not just a worst case scenario, it's the reality for thousands of people. But here's the thing, it's not just about traffic, it's about the daily grind that people never see coming when they move here. Surrey is huge, it's sprawling, it's diverse, and it's rapidly growing. But if you're moving here thinking that it's just a quick drive to Vancouver or even other parts of the Lower Mainland, you might be in for a shock, because here's what most people don't consider. Surrey is surrounded by rivers, blocking it from most other areas to the north and west of the Lower Mainland. And getting in and out of the city means either crossing a bridge or using a tunnel. And that's where things get a little bit complicated. You've got the Portman Bridge, which is newer and generally flows pretty well, and the Alex Fraser, which can get pretty backed up. And then there's the terrible Patello Bridge, which, to be fair, is currently being rebuilt, but means that you've got construction headaches for the next few years. And of course, for the locals watching, you've got the George Massey Tunnel. It is a 3-lane choke point that has been a bottleneck for decades. Back in 2015, they proposed doing a $3.5 billion 10-lane toll bridge to replace it, but that got scrapped in 2017 after a political shakeup. So now the plan is to replace it with an 8-lane toll-free tunnel with dedicated transit lanes and a bike path. But here's the kicker. Construction hasn't even started yet, and it won't start until 2026, and it won't be ready until, estimated anyways, about 2030. So if you're counting on that to improve your commute, you're going to be waiting a long time. But what about public transit? If you're near a SkyTrain station, great. The Expo line can get you from King George Station to Waterfront Station in Vancouver in about 35 minutes with transfers included. And by 2029, there's also the 16-kilometer SkyTrain extension planned that will stretch from Surrey to Langley, adding about 8 new stations along Fraser Highway. But here's the problem. Surrey is massive, and unless you live near a station, you're still going to be driving.
So you're naturally thinking, what about bus service? Well, it's all right, but it's not the kind of convenient, frequent transit system that you might be used to in big cities like Vancouver. So unless you're strategically located, you're looking at spending a lot of time in your car. So how much time are we really talking? Well, driving on a good day, you're looking at 35 to 45 minutes to get to Vancouver. But during rush hour, which in Surrey can stretch literally from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., that can easily double to over an hour and a half. The SkyTrain can get you to where you need to go a little bit quicker, but that doesn't include the time that it takes to get to and from the station on both ends of your route. And with Surrey's population exploding and infrastructure still playing catch up, that 200 hours per year lost to traffic, it's not getting better anytime soon. Now, here's the thing. Commute times aren't just about traffic. It's about your daily routine, your quality of life, the time that you could be spending with your family instead of being behind the wheel. And once you move to a part of Surrey with a brutal commute, you're locked in. So before you choose a home, ask yourself, can you handle spending hours in traffic every week? Are you close enough to transit to make it work? Or are you setting yourself up for a daily grind that you can't reverse out of? Before you buy, test your drive, your commute during peak hours. Drive it twice, once in the morning and once in the evening. And if the thought of spending hours behind the wheel every week doesn't sit right with you, maybe it's time to rethink that location you got your eye on. Now, if you've got your commute nailed down and it's not a concern, we need to make sure that your home feels like a home. So what if the dream home that you just bought in Surrey feels nothing like that? Because you chose the wrong neighborhood. That's exactly what happens, and this mistake happens to people every single day. Look, Surrey is massive, and I'm not just talking about the size. I'm talking about how dramatically different each neighborhood feels. It's like a city with multiple personalities. Whalley is urban, high density, lots of development, but still dealing with higher crime rates. Clayton is suburban. It's got newer builds, families everywhere, but it's congested and there's not a lot of green space. And then you got South Surrey as an example. It's quiet, affluent, feels more like a coastal retreat, but that comes with higher prices and fewer rental options. And here's the mistake. People choose based on the price or the look of the home and completely ignore the vibe of the community. It's like buying a house because you love the kitchen, but hate the people who hang out in the living room. Imagine this. You're a young couple looking for a vibrant social neighborhood with cafes, parks, and lots of community events. You find a stunning home in South Surrey. It's everything you wanted visually. But once you move in, you realize that your neighbors, who are mostly retirees, go to bed at 8 p.m. and the only nightlife around is the sound of their sprinklers on the lawn. Or you're a family looking for quiet streets and good schools and you move to Whalley because the prices seemed right. But now, every time you walk outside, you're surrounded by construction zones everywhere, high-rise developments, and a crowd that doesn't really match your lifestyle. Choosing the wrong neighborhood isn't just about not liking the vibe. It's about feeling out of place in your own home. And that feeling, it doesn't go away. Before I forget, if you're someone who's considering buying a home this year, you want to make sure that you grab a copy of the 21 grants and incentives available right now to home buyers, which is available in the description below in this video. We also want to make sure we talk about one of the biggest blind spots for families moving to Surrey, and that is school catchments, because Surrey schools, they're really honestly a mixed bag. Some areas boast top-rated schools with specialized programs, incredible teachers, and excellent resources, but others, they're overcrowded, they're underfunded, and they are struggling to keep up with the influx of new students. And here's the reality. Surrey is one of the most culturally diverse cities in all of British Columbia. That's great, but it also means some schools have a higher percentage of English as a second language students. So this can really impact the pace of learning. And if your child is used to accelerated programs or smaller class sizes, being placed in a school where many kids are just learning English can be a huge adjustment and not necessarily one that they're prepared for. So while you're shopping for homes, it's not enough to ask, what's the best price? You need to be asking, what's the best fit for my family's lifestyle, my daily routine, and my child's education? Because once you're in, and getting it wrong can mean years of feeling like you're in the wrong place. The biggest mistake people make when moving to Surrey isn't just choosing the wrong home though, it's choosing the wrong neighborhood. Because that stunning house with the granite countertops and the open floor plan, It doesn't matter if you feel like a stranger every time that you step outside. So before you make a move, think about more than square footage and price. Think about the vibe, the neighbors, the schools, and the community, because getting it wrong isn't just inconvenient, it's a daily reminder that you didn't do your homework when you purchased your home. And if you think choosing the wrong neighborhood can feel like a mistake you're stuck with, the next one is even more permanent. Because what happens when that quiet street that you bought on suddenly becomes ground zero for massive construction? When that park view that you paid for disappears behind a 20-story tower. This next mistake is one that people overlook every single day, and it's one that can completely change everything about how you live in your home. I want you to imagine this. Imagine buying your dream home for the view, only to wake up one morning and see a 35-story high-rise going up next door. In Surrey, that's not a bad luck scenario. It's the reality for thousands of homeowners who didn't check what's coming down the pipeline. Surrey is changing, and it's changing fast. We saw it happen in Whalley and Cloverdale, where once quiet neighborhoods were swallowed up by high-rises or townhomes, rapid transit lines like the SkyTrain, and endless construction. And if you think those are isolated cases, you need to think again, because almost every town center in Surrey is due for a massive overhaul between now and 2050. And here's what most buyers get wrong. They look at the current neighborhood without ever considering what it's going to look like in 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. They buy for what they see today, not for what's going on in the city's blueprints for tomorrow. So I want to give you two examples that are already in motion. Something like the Semiahmoo Town Center plan. If you're buying in South Surrey for the laid-back, beachy vibe, you might be in for a shock, because the Semiahmoo Town Center plan is set to become a 136-hectare redevelopment zone with high-rises, shopping centers, and a major transit hub. That quaint low-rise view that you bought, well, it's going to be a canyon of concrete and glass with construction and noise for years and years to come. Another is the Newton Town Center plan, an area that's been overlooked for years but is now primed for a massive transformation. That plan includes towers ranging from 21 to 25 stories, a future rapid transit station, and a skyline that will taper down from 20 stories to 4-story buildings as you move away from the city core. So what does all that mean? It means that quiet residential feel of Newton is about to get a lot more urban, a lot more crowded, and a lot more vertical. And it's not just towers, it's transit too. Do you remember the new SkyTrain extension set to open in 2029 that we just talked about, that will bring 8 new stations from King George to Langley following through Fraser Highway? Well, here's the thing. If you're buying close to that line, you are going to have more foot traffic, more congestion, and a lot more construction dust in the air for the next several years. And once that line's complete, game changer, but it's going to fundamentally change the entire character of those neighborhoods. You're going to have more density, more retail, and a lot more people generally. That quiet, family-friendly street that you bought on, it just might become a throughway for commuters looking to catch the next SkyTrain. But it's not just the big flashy projects. It's the smaller, stealthier developments, the 4-story condo complex that pops up behind your backyard, the once vacant lot that's now a construction site for mixed-use building purposes. And here's the thing, most buyers don't even know that this stuff is coming because they never think to ask. But the information, it's out there. It's in the city planning documents, public hearings are happening, and even local news articles. It's there if you look for it, but once you buy, it's too late. If you get this wrong, you're not just dealing with a bad view or more traffic, you're dealing with a complete change in lifestyle. The home you bought for peace and quiet might turn into a construction zone that feels like a city center, and that's a mistake you can't just pack up and move away from. So what's the bottom line? Ignoring future development plans isn't just about losing your view, it's about losing the entire reason that you moved there in the first place. You bought for that cozy neighborhood feel, but if you don't know what's coming, you could end up living in a construction zone or high density corridor. So before you make a move in Surrey, you need to do your homework. You need to look at city plans, attend community meetings, and ask the right questions, because once the skyline starts to rise and the bulldozers move in, there's no going back. And there's a lot more to this story too. Neighborhoods all over the Lower Mainland are transforming, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. Sweeping zoning changes from the BC government are set to reshape entire communities, turning quiet streets into bustling corridors. If you want to know what that means for you, stick around, because the video coming up next breaks down exactly what is happening and how it's going to upend every community in the entire area.
The residents of this neighborhood don't know it yet, but this neighborhood is going to be completely upended over the coming years about new zoning regulations that are taking effect all across British Columbia.